Welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and every week we bring you news and information you can use on your next real estate transaction. This segment, we're actually going to be talking about something you can use at the polls. Hopefully you are going on out and getting the voting done early. You can start voting now, and then, of course, you can vote on November 4th as well. We're going to talk about an issue that's actually at the very bottom of the ballot, and this is one of those issues that you've got to ride that ballot all the way to the end to answer about Proposition 1. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So if you vote straight Republican, straight Democrat, make sure you still go to the bottom of the ballot and vote for Proposition 1. That's what we're going to be talking about. If you've got a real estate question, give us a call, 281-882-8088. We'll be happy to answer your real estate questions right here on the air every Sunday between 11 and noon. All right, I've got Andrea French on the line. She is calling into our studio. She's the executive director for the TAG Houston region, and TAG is the Transportation Advocacy Group. Welcome to the show, Andrea.
Thank you for having me.
So lots of exciting things going on. I know you guys do a lot to educate consumers on issues that have to do with transportation. Texas has over 80,000 miles of state roads, and most of us are using them day to day, and we all look around and see all the construction that's being done here in Houston. A lot of new roads are being built, but there's also a lot of construction that still needs to be done that isn't being addressed. So I want to talk a little bit about this Proposition 1 and really getting the word out there that without it, we're going to be paying for more toll roads. We're going to have more congestion. It's going to be a little bit more unsafe and just more wear and tear on your car and on the road. So that's why it's so important to vote for Proposition 1. So, Andrea, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Sure. Well, I think you make a great point about how we do see a lot of construction going on right now, and so perhaps for the average driver, it is hard to understand that we need more money when we do see so many orange cones lining all of the roads that we drive every morning. Mm-hmm. But what's important to understand is that a lot of those projects that are on the ground right now have been financed with bonds that are set to expire in 2015. Mm-hmm. And so as of 2015, we will have no more additional money for construction for roads for the state of Texas. And so that's where Proposition 1 comes in as a first step to, replenishing those funds that we would need annually to continue the construction that we need to diminish the congestion that we're seeing all across the state of Texas and really primarily in the Houston region.
So studies show that Texas needs about $5 billion a year of new funding to keep our highways up to current standards, and Proposition 1 is only going to supply about $1.4 billion per year for us. This is more of a first step. It's really not a solution. Is that right?
That is correct. And what's great about the way that Proposition 1 works is that it's tied to the oil and gas severance taxes for the state of Texas. And so clearly we are doing very well with that right now. And so current projections actually put that up at $1.7 billion annually that we'll bring in. But you're absolutely right. We need at least $5 billion annually to remain what experts say minimally competitive with other states and other economies that we compete with globally.
Who would be against this Proposition 1? Is it oil and gas companies? I mean, who would be against it?
So far, there has been no, what we say, organized opposition.
Okay.
You do have a few people that I think perhaps don't understand how the funding stream works. Mm-hmm. And I think that might be the basis for opposition is quite frankly, maybe we haven't reached everybody that we need to properly educate them on how the funding works. But the great thing about Proposition 1 is that there's no new taxes,
right,
no fees, and no tolls. And so I think that's really important to make sure that people understand that they're not going to see an increase in any of their taxes or fees or additional toll roads. This money cannot be used to build toll roads either. So that's another benefit.
And no new debt. So it's not even a debt that has to be paid back.
Right, and that's really important for people to understand is that we have not been paying as we go. We have been financing projects with debt, and we really want to stop that. And moving forward, Proposition 1 really is the first step in starting to build up our pot of money so that we can pay as we go for road projects.
The West Loop has been a really congested area of town. What do you think that Proposition 1 will help with that area, with all the congestion going on, with all the accidents that we've seen over there, all the problems that have occurred? Do you think that Proposition 1 is going to help with that?
I do, and maybe not directly for that specific project, but what it's going to do is it's going to help move up other projects so that we can then go forward and look at areas like the West Loop and start planning. We've got such a backlog of projects now that they're all kind of fighting to get in line first. And if Proposition 1 passes, we are able to bump up several projects. And while they haven't wanted to release specific projects that will get done, should Proposition 1 pass, I think they want to wait and make sure that it does. They are establishing a formula statewide so that certain projects that are at the top of the list for the most congested will receive the most immediate attention.
So we really don't know where that money's going to go. It's kind of 1/4 of the solution we need, and we really don't know where it's going to go, but we know overall it's going to help with safety on the roadways. It's going to help improve the roadways, improve congestion, and reduce wear and tear, and even create some new jobs. Is that right?
Right, and I think the other thing to think about is what if it doesn't pass, what won't it do? And that's really the scary thing to think about, is if we don't start to invest in our roads and our transportation without debt, what does that mean? What is the cost of doing nothing? And that is what's often very frightening to some people when we look at our commute times and the congestion that we're facing. And, add to that the population projections that we're seeing for Texas and for the Houston region alone. Over 1,000 people move to Texas every day, 40% of which are moving to the Houston region. So that's dramatic, and that's really, putting the problem in our face and saying, okay, we really have to do something about it.
What do you think the rest of the solution is? Like I said, this is really step one. What do you think the rest of the solution is going to be?
I think it's going to have to be a combination of a lot of different things. Obviously, we know that we don't want to increase taxes, increase fees at a dramatic rate. That's not going to be politically popular or personally popular for the average voter. So some of the other things that we are looking at statewide is that currently when you purchase your vehicle, the sales tax for that vehicle goes into what's called the general fund at the state level. It does not go back into fund transportation. And so state legislators are looking at ways that we can start moving that money back towards funding transportation. The only issue with that is that it's about $3 billion a year, which is great for funding transportation. But then we're taking that from somewhere else that's being used.
Right.
It's just, so we need to look at how we perhaps phase that in over time.
You think we're going to see a lot more toll roads around Houston?
I think that we're going to see a mix. I don't think we're going to see a lot more. I think in some areas of the region, toll roads just really make sense, and a lot of people, if they don't like them, they certainly use them a lot. And so, I think it's going to have to be a mix of a lot of things. Do we want to have a massive amount of toll roads and that's it for people? No, absolutely not. We need to have a mix. So I think that's what we'll see moving forward.
So you see more bonds in our future?
I see the possibility of perhaps local bonds. I think that, when we talk about looking at the state funding, and we say that magic $5 billion, which I believe is a very conservative estimate. I think it's going to be quite more than that we're going to need as we move forward. Yeah. So I think if we look and say, okay, this is what the state can provide, if Prop 1 passes and maybe we get the vehicle sales tax passed to move to transportation, we're still going to need some local funding options to fill in that gap. And so I think that bonds might be an option for some local governments and local municipalities.
All right, Andrea French, she is with TAG Houston Region. That's the Transportation Advocacy Group. What is y'all's website?
We are at www.taghouston.org.
All right, taghouston.org. You can learn more about what TAG Houston Region does. We were talking with Andrea French. You can also go to texansforprop1.com and learn more about Proposition 1. November 4th is voting day. Make sure you go out and vote if you haven't already during the early voting sessions. And make sure you go all the way down to the bottom of the ballot and vote for Proposition 1. It won't cost you anything, doesn't increase taxes, and it will get us some of those funds that we we need for these roadways around Houston, that we really need some help with our infrastructure with 1,000 people a day moving to Houston. So, all right, thanks, Andrew. We appreciate it. We'll be right back here on Houston Real Estate Radio.
Hey, I have a question for you. Just how hot is your garage in the summer? Yep, thought so. Hot. Hot. And even hotter, right? So what if I told you that there's a product that can now help keep your garage cool? Introducing Windy Vent, a revolutionary passive garage ventilation system that works off thermal airflow to allow free airflow in during hot summer months and can be closed to keep the cold out in the winter. Windy Vents are sold in pairs and install in as little as 30 minutes. Get your revolutionary Windy Vents today and say no to your hot garage. You don't have to leave your garage door up to cool your garage anymore. Vent it 24/7 with Windy Vents. To get yours now, go to windyvent.com. Get 10% off your order. Just enter the word Shannon as your coupon code. Don't wait. Go to windyvent.com. windyvent.com. That's 2 E's. windyvent.com. Installation not included. See windyvent.com for certified installers and for more information. Restrictions may apply. See website for details.